It doesn't concern me. The passing game is gonna. He's one of the guys that the passing game goes through. So I think we need more production there. But the play that goes overlooked is a huge DPI early in the game. That's a huge play for us. Had a couple catches. I'm sure he wants some plays back, but he needs his touches. I know that for us to be effective overall as an offense. They did some things that they were very aware of Marv, though. I will say that, too.
Jonathan Gannon yesterday when he met with the assembled media on the 2 receptions for Marvin Harrison Jr. Gambo. I want to play one more, and then it will kickstart a conversation for us in which we will inevitably compare Marvin Harrison Jr. side by side with Malik Nabers. Jonathan Gannon on whether Kyler needs to target Marvin Harrison Jr. more.
Yeah, how the game went. If you look at how the game goes, how many plays do we have? 50-something, 40, 50, 53 or something, And then it's kind of a different game there at the end. I honestly, Teo, I never really look at targets as what needs to happen. The ball's going to go where the balls go. I know he has a certain number of plays that he's the read in. If they decide to play a coverage, they have a say too. If they decide to play a coverage that the ball's not going to go there, it's not going to go there. With saying that, I know he needs to touch the football for our offense to be at its premium.
And that seemed to be the number one takeaway. No, I'm not concerned, but yes, he needs more touches for our offense to do the very best thing that it can.
Yeah, there's a couple of things you look at, and a lot of people have brought this up on social media, and it's, Marvin Harrison against Malik Nabers. Did the Cardinals make a mistake? Now, I'll talk about it in a second, but let me give you the numbers. We can talk about it. Marvin Harrison Jr. has 75-plus receiving yards in just 3 games, 3 out of 19. Marvin Harrison Jr. does not have a single game with more than 6 receptions. For comparisons, Malik Nabers has 10 games of more than 6 receptions. So none for Marvin Harrison Jr., 10 of more than 6 for Malik Nabers. Malik Nabers has 6 games of more than 75-plus yards receiving. Marvin Harrison Jr. has done it just 3 times. Right now, Nabers has 123 receptions compared to Marvin Harrison Jr.'s 69. So he has 54 more receptions in 19 games. He's also got a lot more yards. He's got 1,442 yards compared to 983 for Marvin Harrison Jr. That's close to 500 yards more. He's getting targeted more. He gets targeted more.
Way more.
What I'll say about that, here's what I'll say. I mean, it may very well be that Malik Nabers is a better wide receiver than Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm not going to say he's not. Right now, it might be. It might be that he's better. But he's also the focal point of that entire offense, unlike here where you've got Trey McBride. I'm a Giants fan. They don't have a tight end. So everything goes to Malik Nabers. Okay, there's nobody even close to him. Where on this team, you've got Trey McBride. And Trey McBride has to get the ball. First and foremost, even more so than Marvin Harrison Jr., because it's the biggest mismatch on the field. So Marvin Harrison Jr. is the 1A or the 1B, because McBride's your 1, and then he's your 1A or your 1B, whatever you want to call it. Where in New York, it's Nabers, that's all they've got. Every big play goes to Nabers. They're trying to get him the ball as much as possible. The amount of targets on Malik Nabers are through the roof. They're a lot more than Marvin Harrison Jr. So I'm not saying no, that Malik's not a better player.
Right.
I'm just saying that the offenses are geared a lot differently.
Yeah, this year, and I know, with all due respect to Jonathan Gannon and what he just said a moment ago, but if we were to look at just targets, so far this year, Marvin Harrison Jr. has 11, Malik Nabers has 25.
It's more than double.
Last year, in just 15 games, Malik Nabers had 170. In 17 games, Marvin Harrison Jr. had 116. Okay, so
big difference.
Big difference. I mean, just a per game basis, it really speaks to what you're saying about how differently the two guys are used. I think, Gambo, honestly, there's a compelling argument to be made that had the Cardinals drafted Malik Nabers and had the Giants drafted Marvin Harrison Jr., that it's very likely, at least possible, the roles would be reversed. That Malik Nabers would be putting up numbers like Marvin Harrison Jr. is putting up here, and Harrison would be putting up numbers like Malik Nabers is putting up there, because of the different styles of offense they run. That being said, 5 targets, 2 catches is not enough. Now, in a game where you only run 40-something offensive plays, I understand it's tough when you got to get James Conner involved and Trey McBride involved and all that stuff. But you're right about McBride. Like, he's And we talked about this last week. When you've got a singular tight end like that who's that good at what he does, he's going to be a magnet for targets. And you just have to find a way to complement that enough to make sure Marvin Harrison Jr. is getting enough to impact the game as well. Because it's just, you're not going to cut Trey McBride's targets. You're not. It'd be crazy to do that. Right? Wouldn't you tell me I'm right?
You're right. You can't. You can't do it. And the Giants don't have a tight end. They don't have a tight end that they throw the ball to. So the Giants are in a much different position than the Cardinals are with that. Plus, the Cardinals like to throw the ball a lot behind the line of scrimmage.
Yes, yep.
To their running backs. They want to get the ball to James Conner and let him go run some people over, safe passes. So they're a little bit different. Where, with the Giants are going to air it out. They get like Russell Wilson's he's going to throw the ball down the field a lot more. Wherever he's been, he takes those shots down the field. Right, when he was in Seattle with Tyler Lockett, like he's going to take shots down the field, where Kyler doesn't take as many shots down the field. Now, you want to blame it on Drew Petzing. You want to look at the offense. I mean, we could gauge that too. That's a part of it. Well, but I think there are several factors. I think the tight end is one of them, and I think the way they run the offense is the other one.
I really think that's more the conversation here, rather than whether the Cardinals got the wrong wide receiver, or whether if things would be different if they had drafted the other one. I think the question is Drew Petzing's offense the reason why? And I guess that's an oversimplification of it, or maybe that's like a statement. But I mean, the conversation should be: do the Cardinals need to change their offensive philosophy and their offensive approach? Because if you look at these games, other than Trey McBride, nobody else is really getting the targets, right? Like nobody else is really. There's nobody who's got it. Michael Wilson's not getting targeted 8 times in the passing game. Nobody is. Nobody else is.
I almost feel somewhat like foolish for our thoughts on what can they get out of their number 2 receiver. Can they get 55 catches? Can they get 60? Can they get 65? We got 1 in the first game. You got 1 in the second game.
Yeah.
Like you're
on the back burner.
You're
right
trending
now.
for 17 receptions for your number 2 guy.
Yeah, here's what Drew Petzing said about getting the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. more today when he met with the media.
I always say a lot of that's going to be on me for play calling and trying to make sure he's early in the progression. But if they're going to take him away, I think Kyler's done a great job of moving on and getting the ball to other players and making sure, as we talked about earlier, that those players are where they need to be and ready for those opportunities when they present themselves. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to take a guy away or really overemphasize that on your end, yeah, we still want to make sure that we do things to move him around the formation to make him difficult to defend, but we're also, as the play is called, not going to just, once the play is snapped, just throw the ball to him at all costs. I think that creates some issues, and always want to stay away from those things.
Yeah, and I guess that's my point. Malik Nabers is averaging, 12 and a half targets per game? If you want the Cardinals to duplicate that with Marvin Harrison Jr., it fundamentally changes the way they play offense. Like, you got to change everything. You overhaul everything from top to bottom. If you go in and say, hey, you know what? Hell or high water, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to get 12 and a half targets per game, and that's just how it's going to be. If you're going to do that, you have to overhaul the entire offensive philosophy for the Cardinals, because that's not who they are.
I'll give you an example just to fit into that. The Giants scored 37 points the other day against the Cowboys. 37 points. They threw the ball 41 times. They ran it 21 times. So to your point, you would have to go from a balanced offense, an offense that really wants to lean more on the run, to a more predominantly passing offense. The Giants were able to put up a tremendous amount of points on the Cowboys because they threw the ball 41 times. They only ran it 21. So, like, what's that, two-thirds? 60, two-thirds of their offense is passing in that game. So to your point, you would have to fundamentally change your approach if you want to get those guys that many more targets.
Thanks for watching Burns and Gambo. Click to see more from the guys and hit the button in the middle to subscribe so you never miss a video from Arizona sports.